I remember the moment as if it were lightning striking, a jolt so sudden I could barely catch my breath. I was standing in my bedroom, holding a simple dress I had borrowed from my sister, its fabric soft and unfamiliar in my hands. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the heater, and yet inside me chaos roared. My reflection in the mirror flickered with shadows, and I realized I had been hiding from this part of myself for far too long. What if I tried it? The thought whispered, delicate and dangerous, and suddenly the choice felt inevitable. As I slipped the dress over my shoulders, the fabric brushing my skin, I caught my reflection fully for the first time. It was me, but not just me. Something stirred in my chest, a strange, thrilling mix of fear, anticipation, and recognition. The curves of the dress clung in ways I hadn't imagined, highlighting shapes I had long ignored. My hands trembled as I smoothed the folds, and I whispered to the mirror, Who is this? I thought of him, my closest friend, the one who had always been a quiet anchor through every awkward moment, every fear, every failure. Could he see me like this and still care? The question made my stomach twist, but beneath it a small, insistent voice whispered, You deserve to see yourself. All of yourself. And with that, the first spark of courage lit within me. That night, I moved slowly through the apartment, letting the dress settle around me, each step feeling foreign yet strangely natural. I twirled in front of the mirror, hesitant at first, then with a growing curiosity, noticing how the fabric draped over my shoulders and fell along my waist. Every gesture, every shift of my body, felt like learning a secret language I had always known but had never spoken aloud. My hands shook as I smoothed the folds, and a thrill unlike anything I had ever felt coursed through me. I whispered to myself, testing the sound of my voice. It felt softer, more vulnerable, yet undeniably authentic. The reflection seemed to answer back, a quiet affirmation I could feel in my chest. I imagined stepping outside in this version of me, moving through the world fully seen, fully me, and my stomach fluttered with both longing and fear. Walls I had built to protect myself started to crack, and for once I didn't want to hide behind them. And then I thought of him again, his laughter, his patience, the way he had never judged me even at my most awkward. The thought made my chest ache. Could he understand this part of me? Could he still care? That question hovered, terrifying yet exhilarating, daring me to face it. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the blinds, painting stripes across the floor. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every detail from the night before. The feel of the fabric, the tremble in my hands, the way my reflection had seemed to whisper, This is you. I couldn't shake the image of myself in the dress, nor the strange thrill that had accompanied it. Something had shifted inside me, a quiet acknowledgement that I could no longer ignore. I began experimenting with smaller things during the day, subtle accessories, a scarf, a bracelet, the way I adjusted my posture. Each small choice felt like a rehearsal, a delicate exploration of a self I had always kept hidden. Even simple gestures, the tilt of my head, the curve of a smile, felt electric, as if every movement whispered secrets I was only beginning to understand. Later he texted me, Hey, want to hang out? My heart leapt, but fear tangled with excitement. Could I tell him everything now? Could I reveal the side of me that was still fragile, nervous, and yearning to be seen? I typed a casual reply, hiding my truth for the moment, yet the ember of hope burned brighter than ever. Perhaps he could understand. Perhaps he could accept all of me. That evening the apartment was quiet. My sister was out, and for the first time, I had the freedom to explore without hesitation. I laid out a soft, flowing blouse and a skirt I had admired for months, items that seemed ordinary but now felt like keys to a world I had only glimpsed. My hands trembled as I dressed, each motion deliberate, smoothing the fabric, adjusting the hem, feeling the textures against my skin. Standing before the mirror, I studied my reflection, hesitant at first, then with growing fascination. The person looking back at me was at once familiar and new. I traced the folds of the blouse, the subtle sway of the skirt, the gentle curve of my hands. A quiet thrill surged through me, a sense of alignment, of seeing for the first time the self I had long denied. I whispered almost reverently, This feels right. For the first time, my reflection wasn't just a mirror image. It was a promise, fragile yet radiant, of a self waiting to be fully recognized. And then I thought of him. Could he see this version of me and still care? My chest tightened, fear mingling with longing. But beneath it, a small spark of courage flickered, daring me to hope. Perhaps the person who had always loved me could see all of me now, and still love me. The following days became a delicate rhythm of discovery. Each morning I experimented with small gestures. How a scarf fell over my shoulder, how a tilt of the head changed my expression, how a soft step could feel both natural and graceful. Every movement was a secret rehearsal, a way of practicing a truth I hadn't yet dared to share. My journal became my confidant, filled with sketches of outfits, descriptions of feelings, and fragments of inner dialogue that I couldn't voice aloud. One afternoon I dressed completely in her style, a blouse, a skirt, and shoes that made me feel poised and balanced. I moved in front of the mirror, letting my gestures flow naturally, my reflection guiding me, teaching me. I whispered softly to myself, testing the voice I had been shaping. It felt right, familiar in a way I had never expected. The reflection was no longer a stranger. It was me, fragile yet confident, nervous yet alive. And then my thoughts drifted to him again. Could he see me like this and still recognize me? Could he understand this side I had been nurturing in secret? The question lingered, terrifying and thrilling, but beneath it, a steady pulse of hope grew stronger. Perhaps he could, perhaps he would. That weekend I allowed myself to take a bolder step. The apartment was empty, the perfect stage for a private transformation. I laid out my chosen outfit carefully. A flowing blouse, a skirt that swayed gently with every movement, and shoes that felt both foreign and empowering. My hands shook as I dressed, smoothing the fabric, adjusting hems, running my fingers through my hair until each curl fell just right. Standing before the mirror, I studied every detail, every line, every shadow. For the first time I truly saw her, the version of me I had longed to become. I practiced walking across the room, letting my movements flow naturally, letting gestures become language. Every tilt of my head, every sway of my shoulders, every flick of my fingers felt like unlocking a part of myself I had never allowed to speak. My reflection smiled back at me, a quiet affirmation that this wasn't just a disguise or a fleeting whim. And then I thought of him. Imagining him walking in, seeing me like this, made my heart leap and my stomach twist all at once. Fear mingled with hope, but beneath it, a spark of courage blazed. Perhaps the one person who had always loved me could see all of me now, and still love me. That evening I sat by the window, rain tapping softly against the glass. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and red. My journal rested on my lap, filled with thoughts I hadn't spoken aloud. Fears, excitement, the thrill of discovering a self I had long hidden. The reflection in the glass merged with the raindrops, and for the first time I felt a quiet clarity. This wasn't just experimentation anymore. This was becoming my truth, a version of me I could no longer deny. Then my phone buzzed. A simple message from him. Want to hang out tonight? My pulse quickened. The thought of revealing even a fraction of this side of me to him filled me with both dread and longing. Could he understand? Could he accept me as I was becoming? With trembling fingers I typed back a hesitant yes, letting the ember of hope grow brighter. Before leaving I caught my reflection one last time. The person staring back at me was no longer tentative. She was alive, poised, and ready. I drew in a deep breath and stepped into the night, knowing the next hours might change everything, but feeling for the first time that I was ready. When I arrived at his apartment, my heart was hammering. Every step toward the door felt charged with possibility and fear. I rang the bell, and when he opened it, his familiar smile hit me like a wave. I froze for a moment, caught between panic and relief. Could he really see me like this and still care? Could someone who had known me so long understand this side I had been hiding? We settled into the living room, talking about ordinary things at first. Music, movies, small stories. But beneath the casual chatter, a quiet current pulsed. My hands fidgeted nervously, and he noticed. You okay? He asked softly, eyes steady and patient. My chest tightened. Could I really tell him everything? Could I finally reveal the self I had nurtured in secret? I took a shaky breath and began. I confessed the nights of secret practice, the thrill, the fear, the longing to be seen for who I truly was. I braced for confusion, questions, maybe even judgment, but none came. Instead, he reached for my hand, steady and warm, and said, I love you, all of you, no matter what. Tears filled my eyes. The weight I had carried for years, the fear of rejection, the shame of hiding, seemed to lift in an instant. The person who had always loved me, truly loved me, still did now and fully. The evening unfolded gently, almost like a dream. We talked about everything. The small details of my journey, the tiny joys of experimenting with gestures and clothes, the quiet fear of being misunderstood. He listened without interruption, without judgment, holding my hand and offering steady warmth. Each word I had feared would push him away instead drew us closer, weaving trust and understanding between us. At one point he looked at me and said softly, "You've always been brave even when you didn't know it." The word struck me deeply. Every secret rehearsal, every trembling step, every whispered affirmation had led me here, to this place of acceptance, understanding, and connection. My chest swelled with a joy so profound I could barely breathe, a mixture of relief, pride, and happiness that had been months in the making. Later, as we sat together by the window watching the rain, the reflection in the glass felt different. It wasn't just a stranger or a hidden self. It was me, evolving, embraced, alive. I whispered to myself, "I am me," and for the first time it felt undeniably true. The following days were a quiet unfolding of courage and trust. I began integrating small pieces of this true self into my everyday life. Subtle touches in clothing, gentle shifts in posture, softer expressions. Each choice felt like an affirmation, a declaration that I could exist openly without hiding. The reflection in the mirror no longer intimidated me. It mirrored the growing confidence and authenticity I felt inside. We spent afternoons together, laughing and talking, sometimes just sitting in comfortable silence. He noticed the smallest details, the tilt of my head, the curve of my smile, the way my hands moved, and each acknowledgement filled me with joy I had never imagined. Fear and doubt still whispered occasionally, but they were now faint echoes, silenced by the steady reassurance of his love. One rainy evening, as droplets slid down the window, he squeezed my hand and said, "No matter what changes, I'll always be here." In that moment I understood fully. This journey wasn't just about discovering myself. It was about finding someone willing to love me through it all, and realizing I could finally love myself in return. The weeks that followed felt like stepping into a new rhythm of life. I moved through days with a quiet confidence I had never known, testing small expressions of myself in public. Subtle accessories, softer gestures, the tilt of a smile. Each time I felt nervous yet exhilarated, and each time he noticed and encouraged me, my heart swelled with gratitude and joy. My reflection no longer felt like a stranger. It was me, alive, evolving, and embraced. We shared moments of ordinary magic. Walks through the park, quiet evenings listening to music, small adventures where I could be fully myself without hesitation. Each experience deepened my understanding that being seen, truly seen, was not a threat. It was freedom. My heart, once heavy with fear and doubt, now carried warmth, hope, and pride. I realized that the journey I had feared so deeply had become the path to the person I was always meant to be. And in every glance, every gesture, every soft word between us, I felt an unshakable truth. I could be myself and still be loved completely. The moment of full acceptance arrived quietly, without fanfare, in the ordinary intimacy of an evening spent together. I stood before the mirror in a complete outfit I had once only imagined, soft fabrics, flowing lines, every gesture I had practiced until it felt natural. I studied my reflection, not just the surface but the journey that had led me here. The nights of secret practice, the trembling hands, the whispered affirmations, the hidden longing. He was beside me, hand steady in mine. The mirror no longer reflected a stranger. It reflected the whole, unguarded me, embraced and unafraid. I whispered softly, "This is who I am," and he smiled, squeezing my hand. "And I love every part of you," he said, and my chest swelled with a joy so profound it brought tears to my eyes. In that instant I understood fully. This journey had never been about hiding or pretending. It had been about uncovering, embracing, and sharing the person I truly was, and finding someone willing to love me through it all. For the first time I felt whole, fully seen and fully loved. The reflection in the mirror, the warmth of his hand, the quiet certainty in my heart. All of it reminded me of one simple truth. I am me, and that is enough.